So this is like the third time I'm doing this, and you probably can tell I'm just like, what? My second video was more excited than this one. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have made a move. They have traded for Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey of the Miami Dolphins, also a 2027 seventh round pick. And what the Dolphins get is a 2027 fifth round pick and safety Minka Fitzpatrick. So Minka goes back to the team that drafted him, and I'm a little bit shocked by this. I'm a little bit surprised. Yeah, I know that Minka was getting paid quite a bit of money, by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He just signed a big contract. He hasn't had the best couple of years. He had some injuries a couple of years back. He hadn't had very many interceptions. He finally got one, towards the end of the season last year. And sometimes when you look at the tape, there's been some question marks there. Now, a lot of us thought, including myself, that those were because of other players who were out of position or young players who didn't quite know the playbook, and they were utilizing Minka to try to help out the young players. Um, those type of situations. I didn't think that he was he was the guy, and I don't think he was the guy that the defense was referring to when they spoke about last year that somebody was just one guy out of place, those type of things. Um, so I'm kind of in shock that the Pittsburgh Steelers have sent him away. He's been a playmaker for the team. He's been a fan favorite for the team, even throughout his ups and downs. I think he's still been a fan favorite, and a lot of people understood why he had such, off, maybe not awful, but some down years there. I think a lot of people were anticipating with the line being the defensive line being redone. Added some additions there, and with Wyatt Black and Derek Harmon. Deshaun Elliott really came about, but there was, I guess, signs of this. At the end of the season, Minka didn't talk. When he cleaned out after the exit meetings and stuff, he didn't talk to the team. He was there. He's been in practice. I know that there was some rumblings, and people were, talking about maybe perhaps that he would get traded away. I just didn't think it was going to happen. I thought he wasn't a guy that would get traded away. But it happens, and the Steelers end up getting two players. Jalen Ramsey, who he's 30, and he just signed a big contract. And according to what I've seen with him, he's going to get a $1.5 million raise in 2025, making his salary $26.6 million this year. That's the other thing too. I mean, they're looking at stuff in the 2027 trade, so the Steelers still have moves to make. I just realized that because I said that it was a 2027 trade. I mean draft. That's crazy because that's like a draft away from now. So basically, what they ended up doing is getting two players for the price of one, and taking up a lot of Jalen's. I'm assuming they're going to take quite a bit of Jalen's money and pay for majority of that. The Pittsburgh Steelers are, and my assumption is that the Miami Dolphins are going to pick up Minka Fitzpatrick's less salary, which it's less, but not by a tremendous amount. I think he's making like 18, 19 million a year, as opposed to Jalen Ramsey making 26, who I think is your starter. Just kind of your cornerback one. Now, what do they do with you're paying him a tremendous amount of money. I know that a lot of people say he's flexible. He can play safety. He can play nickel, but I don't think you're paying $26 million for a nickel cornerback or a safety. I think you're paying $26 million for cornerback one. Now, is he a guy that you want following a guy like Jamar Chase around? Maybe. I mean, I think that if you are going to have that scenario, you're probably going to have him be the guy that's going to be following the opposite team's wide receiver one. But I think more so, you're probably going to get him on his more comfortable side and hope that's the opposite side, that what Joey Porter's most comfortable with, and have them both on one side and just have them there instead of one lockdown type corner that's going to be following a wide receiver one around. What do the Steelers do at the safety position? I guess they like, Juan Thornhill a little bit more than, maybe he showed a little bit more than we thought. He's been a starting safety. I think that Deshaun Elliott played excellent last year. He was clearly the number, this team's best playing defensive back or safety, but defensive back in totality, in my opinion, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Dante Jackson had a good year until his back started to become a very, very serious situation. But for Jalen Ramsey, he's got a 3-year, $72.3 million extension before the 2024 season. So he still has, I think, 2 years left on that. 25.1 million was guaranteed for 2025. The Dolphins have paid $4 million in a roster bonus, and the Steelers are giving him a $1.5 million raise. So Steelers are on the hook for like for about 22 million. Now, with that $1.5 million raise, there was probably some sort of restructure. I wouldn't be surprised if his contract next year, that's Jalen Ramsey, that is. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was structured a little bit differently. I don't think he was anticipating getting a fully guaranteed contract for 2026. I'm not sure, but Steelers probably moved some money around for that. I still think that they still have the opportunity to sign a guy like TJ Watt and extend him. I think that's fully going to happen. I don't think the Steelers would trade TJ. That would be, I didn't think they would trade Minka either. You know what I'm saying? TJ threw up the deuces on an Instagram post. Minka, I think, was at I remember reading and seeing things that Minka was at OTAs or at mandatory minicamp. I apologize. So, interesting. Now, the Steelers also get a pass catcher in Jonnu Smith, guy that's familiar with the offense. I think this means something for Connor Hayward, to be honest with you. Probably means something a little bit for Darnell Washington, too, when it comes to the passing game. But, the tight ends have been wide receiver 2, so to speak, in Arthur Smith's offense. So I would fully anticipate and expect that be the case here as well. I think they're going to utilize these guys. And I think you have an issue if Freiermuth goes down for a game or two. How are you gonna? You have a huge hole there. As far as like wide receivers go, if Calvin Austin were to go down, I think Roman Wilson can fill in for him. You don't really have a guy that can fill in for Pat Freiermuth if he were to go down. And so this is another option of the threat, especially in the red zone. I think last year the red zone is really what was the Pittsburgh Steelers kryptonite, and getting some good tight ends in there, I think that'll be that'll help out this team tremendously. I'm still in awe, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of in shock here that the Steelers have traded away Minka Fitzpatrick. I never thought that would be the case. I thought he was locked in. Are there still some moves to be made? I think so. I mean, when you see the fact that they're giving away 2027 draft picks, they still have a tremendous amount of 2026 draft picks. Maybe there's another move or two that they're looking at. Maybe a wide receiver 2, still in the book, still on the horizon, so to speak. And for them not to touch any of the draft picks that they have right now, that out of all of the ones that they have for this upcoming 2026 year, kind of tells me they have a pretty good idea of what they want to do with them. Well, guys, that's all I got. Let me know in the comment section. Do you like this move? What don't you like? What do you think? How does this move the needle? Are the Steelers closer to being a contender in this move? Let me know in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.